BigFooty Blues. BigFooty Blues. BigFooty Blues. Turn the BigFooty Blues.
Former US President Ulysses S. Grant once said, "The friend in my adversity I shall always cherish most. I can better trust those who help to relieve the gloom of my dark hours than those who are so ready to enjoy with me the sunshine of my prosperity." Welcome to episode 5 of the 2015 BigFooty Blues podcast. I'm ODN. Please meet our panel for tonight. Hi, ShanDog.
G'day, hello everyone. That was deep, man. I feel like we need a moment to reflect on that.
Oh, just a moment. We don't want to run over time.
No.
Welcome back, HBF.
Nice to be back. Evening, gentlemen.
Before we launch into the inevitable little chit-chat we're going to have, a little bit of news from the club. Former Collingwood and North Melbourne spearhead and former NFL punter Severio Rocker has been employed by the club as a part-time goal-kicking coach. Sounds like he will be predominantly working with Levi Casbolt. Good news, fellas?
Well, they showed a grab of it on the news over here in Melbourne tonight, and the vision was Rocker working with Casbolt. So I dare say he's probably got his work cut out for him. Look, Sav had a beautiful kicking technique, and he didn't miss too often. So if we're going to get a goal kicking coach, he'd be one of the better ones to get, I would think.
Is he going to be teaching him to get for hang? Are we looking at hang time or are we looking at distance? Because he's been doing nothing but hang time for a fair while now.
I heard the Carlton coaches were a little bit surprised that they were kicking around the American pigskin, but apparently it's a gradual process.
If it works, we might see if we can slip one into the match ball kit. Why didn't we do this sooner? I mean, is it? Well, I haven't heard of any goal-kicking coach down there. Who was doing it before? I would assume it would just be the forwards coach working with them.
I would have thought so. Yeah, I haven't heard of a goal-kicking coach before either. So good positive to come out of the club, I think, that we've proactive in this, trying to get Casbolt to straighten up.
It is, but it just makes me wonder what took so long. I mean, it's a professional club. If you've got issues, and look, let's face it. Before he left Carlton, Jared Waite wasn't a great kicking goal. He's suddenly become one. And we've got Liam Jones on board, and he's not a great kicker goal. And Casbolt has been shocking for as long as we can remember. So it just seems a bit strange that if we waited so long, to get a specialist goal kicking coach. But anyway. Probably shouldn't dwell on the negatives now that it's finally been done. It just seems we react a little bit slowly to these things. How old's Casbolt now? 25?
Maybe it's been the plan all along, Everyone thinks we're crap now. No one can kick a goal. Suddenly, 3 weeks' time, Jones kicked 12, Casbolt kicked 15.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm trying here, fellas. I'm trying.
That won't even be a season telly in 3 weeks' time.
That's right.
No. All right, let's launch straight into it. I can wait no longer. Time for the weekend wake.
This is the weekend wake.
On Friday night, Carlton 9-8-62 went down to West Coast 2011-131, and goals to Carlton, Casbolt 2, singles to Everett, Toohey, Murphy, Henderson, Bell, Allard, Jones, and West Coast, and all the rest. Best for Carlton. I know you can read that out. I disagree. I mean, okay. My name is Gibbs, Everett, Toohey, Murphy, Casbolt. Where the is Doherty?
Yeah, righto.
Are you serious? Exactly. What is that? I'm like never going to trust that list ever again. Patrick Cripps flew over to WA and was replaced in the selected side. We sort of would have been nice to have him out there. And once again, we've lost a player early in the first quarter with Simon White went down with the knees. So 2 rounds, 2 players lost early in the game. Clem Smith had to come on and play almost a full match yet again. It's I don't know. Our luck is terrible.
I assume the way that this works, we have to do it again. Clem Smith must be the sub because it can't possibly happen 3 times in a row. It's statistics, it's math, it's science. It can't happen again, so therefore, put him on sub. Everything will be fine.
These things happen in threes. Things happen in threes, ShanDog. I mean, who is it that's going to go down next time? It's a risk.
All right, you've blown my theory out of the water. Let's move on.
Yeah. we're both very strong on the logic there, mate. Look, what did you guys think of the match? I mean, what do you want to say?
Putrid, disgusting. I'm glad I had scotch on hand. I've never been so mad in my entire life watching the capitulation after the first quarter. We didn't even make it 10 minutes into the second like we did in the first game at least. I was furious. Carlton broke me. I was so mad. I wasn't even going to post on BigFooty for a while, and then, of course, I got sucked into doing that, and I wish I hadn't as well. I really wish that I had the opportunity to walk up to some of the people involved in this club and tell them exactly how it makes me feel and how much it hurts when I watch that pathetic crap get served up on the field when all of us care so much about it. We'd be better off playing a team of BigFooty posters who gave a shit about what they were doing than watching 18 blokes run around, get a paycheck for nothing. And I'll tell you what, I've calmed down, but I'm still quite upset about this. I know it's only round 2, and some people will be saying, probably rightly so, that we shouldn't be jumping at shadows too much. But I tell you what, it's getting dark.
You're looking for improvement. That's all you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly.
And we seem to be we're hitting levels so low that we never envisaged. And,
we started low and nothing changed. Nothing changed in round 2, and that's exactly what you're saying. We're looking for improvement, and I didn't see a thing.
We look really unfit as well, I think.
Mick said that's not the case.
Well, I find that hard to believe.
He came out in strong support after the match for David Butterfield and said it's not our fitness people, we are fit.
It certainly doesn't look that way.
It doesn't. No, I agree.
We look tired and lethargic after quarter time, and I get exactly what you're saying, Shan, where you said Carlton have broken your spirit. They did it to me after round 1, and to go from sort of being quite thrilled and excited about how we were playing in that first half after sort of Murphy kicked that goal on his left foot to, half an hour later and the game was over. They moved Rosa onto Judd and put a spare back, and that was it.
It's like a different team, wasn't it?
It sure was.
You're talking about how much a club can affect somebody and how much they can destroy you and sink your morale and so forth. Now, since this was posted publicly, I'm not going to name names, but one of our more well-known posters on BigFooty posted something that was a bit of a surprise to a lot of us. He said that he doesn't have a lot of time left in this will.
Yeah, I saw that.
And he's so shattered that he would freely give up his time. He's got some qualifications and so forth to help the club out in whatever way, because he doesn't want to go out watching this, seeing this, and being heartbroken by the club like this. And that hit home to me more than anything I'm feeling, and more than anything a lot of people are feeling. You just want to give an honest effort, and you want to know that everybody's on the same page and the players are feeling the way we're feeling. You don't want the rhetoric. You want actions. They speak louder than words. You've got to have faith. The quote at the start, we've got to stick by them. We're not going to do anything else. Yeah. But we are going to have to start making some sort of demands and have some sort of expectation. Otherwise, how do we know we're holding on for the right reasons and the right things are in place, the right things are happening? They've got to give us something.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Any players had good games it stood out and that you were impressed by? Oh,
look, I think what we mentioned before, I think Doherty held his own. The ball was down there a lot, but he's really come on this year. I think he's probably about the only player in the first couple of weeks that's really can hold his head high and say that, he's really contributed 8 quarters of footy to the footy club. And honestly, I think that's about it. I cannot think of one other player that I would say, yep, has played well. Maybe Bell, maybe Tom Bell. Other than that, yeah, pretty slim pickings.
I definitely agree about Doherty. I think everyone's on board with that. I do think Tui had a good game actually. A few people were still unhappy with him, but I was trying to watch fairly closely, and I thought he did pretty well.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
He was very good with his ball use. He did try and take on the game a couple of times there, and sort of got caught a little bit here. But we were down. We needed someone to make something happen a little bit, so I don't begrudge him that. He definitely used the ball very well. He was much more solid.
One in three possessions were contested. 25 disposals. That's not the go for Tui usually. That's pretty impressive. 88% efficiency.
Yeah.
10 marks, 1 contested, and he kicked one of his trademark long goals. I mean, that's a pretty good day out for him.
It is. Yeah, good signs of Tui getting back to what we were sort of hoping and expecting he'd get back to. So I'm pretty happy with him.
4 running bounces as well, so that's the run. That's some of the run that we needed. So you can't fault that. I was surprised, like you, to see people bagging him out as one of the ones that needed to go.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes there's a lot of emotion, and we're all seeing different things, but I didn't quite get that one. They interviewed Doherty after the match. He interviews well.
Yeah, he
does.
He really
mature
does.
Kid. He talked about how the team just wasn't strong at the contest. He talked about how when they were 5 goals down, he was going around telling the others, "Hey, we can still win this," trying to, sort of lift them up a little bit.
Dare I say it, showing some leadership, perhaps?
Yes. Just the role that he plays across halfback, and the fact that he looks like he can go into the midfield when need be, and just the way he talks, he's got a bit of toughness. He'll put his body on the line. He'll take intercept marks and set it in front of dominant full forwards. He's smacking he's looking like Luke Hodge to me. It's
wow,
big raps, but
very big raps.
and I couldn't be happier for him, considering pounding he was getting from people in the preseason.
Yeah.
Just over NAB challenge matches, and then let that be a lesson to you that NAB challenge matches aren't all they're cracked up to be.
Yep.
It is a big rap, but and the other thing about him is he said, I'd rather the win than to play well personally, and we've got to remember he is a Carlton boy. He grew up as a Carlton supporter. He knows how we would feel.
Yeah, true.
Mark Murphy has come out and said that he's got to lead. He's got to get the other blokes to follow him, and he did say that players have to decide whether they want to be there at the club. So he's sort of putting the acid test on the others, a little bit on himself. I think he could probably share some of it 50-50, because there doesn't seem to be a lot of talk and a lot of leading by example out on the field at the moment amongst pretty much our whole leadership group. Levi Casbolt came in this week. A lot of people have been asking for him to come in. Was it worth it?
Look, I must admit, I was very vocal on the fact that I didn't think he deserved to come in. I went and saw him play Good Friday out at Visy Park, and he really didn't do enough in my mind to warrant selection. And really, he didn't do anything on Friday night until the game was done. I think he kicked a couple of goals from, in the last quarter. But to be honest, I would have preferred to have seen Watson come in. The match committee's obviously just picked him because we wanted to replace Jackson. He was the next in line. So it'd be interesting to see what they do this week, although Mick's come out and said he'll play.
Yeah, I thought around the ground he did do pretty well with his marking. Again, and we know it's his pathetic kicking that is the only part of his game that's really letting him down as far as I'm concerned. His ruck work is okay. He gets around the ground pretty well for such a big bloke. But takes those big grabs. He had 8 marks, 5 contested, and all 5 of those were really good marks, strong marks, impacts and stuff. And that's what we need him there for, is the structure. I take on board what you were saying, HBF, about not working or not having a great game in the VFL. I'm just I kind of think that for what he does to our structures, it's worthwhile him being there. Though if he doesn't pick his game up after a few, then I'd be more than happy to see him sort of dropped. His marking is a big, big asset to us. If we can fix his kicking, he'd be a great forward. But around the ground, I think we do need that big marking target because no one else can do it.
Oh, look, I agree. I just can't see how he can sustain a consistent AFL career. I just can't see it.
Yeah, fair call, man.
So since the match, obviously, there's been a lot of outcry. A lot of it's directed towards Mick Malthouse, as it was last year and last week. Does that result change anything in your mind as far as Mick being the man to coach Carlton?
It actually has changed my mind. I was actually pretty keen on him to get maybe another 2-year contract after the end of this year, but now, given our first 2 performances, I'm just wondering whether he can actually get the best out of the playing group. I have heard that there are players carrying injuries, namely Murphy and Gibbs, who aren't 100% fit. So whether that's right or whether it's just sort of scuttlebutt off the boards, but they really don't look fit anyway, even though Mick's come out and said they are. You only have to watch them play to see that they're not fit. So if that's the case, maybe we're judging him a little too harshly. I'm probably, as it sits right now, probably sitting right on the fence with him. I'm not really sure one way or the other with Mick at the moment.
I'm a little bit the same. I have been pretty steadfast in saying that Malthouse is the kind of person who, if you want to rebuild a club, change culture both within the sort of the football group and the club itself as well, then he's the sort of person that you'd be happy to give the reins over to and say, look, you take charge, get this sorted, and take the time it needs to get it fixed. But we seemed to be there seems to be some areas of our club that are improving. I think the strategy with the trades that they've done, the Thomas one is almost a conversation in itself. But overall, I think they've been doing the right thing, getting middle-aged players, guys who've still got 6-8 years of good football in, who fill a need for our club, get them in, look to the draft, get the players that we need to get the team balance right, and then allow Mick to work with them and create the side that he wants. I think if we continue down that path, it will reap rewards at the end. But I'm not so steadfast in that belief, having seen how... I just don't understand how you can start so badly to a year that has looked like it was leading into it should have been one of the better years that we were going to have.
Sorry, I've watched Carlton teams destroy Wayne Britton, Dennis Pagan, Brett Ratton, and Mick Malthouse is heading the same direction. It's the inconsistency, and it's sort of, it bewilders me. I just don't see the logic in thinking that these coaches, some of them, a couple of them very well respected, can't motivate the players to play 4 quarters, and to give their all. And it always feels to me like the tail's wagging the dog a little bit, and it's easier to get rid of coaches than it is to get rid of players and so forth. If the issue is between the ears, and I maintain that it is, I think we have a mental fragility that just won't go away. And if it's between the ears, we need to identify it faster. And we've already cut pretty deep, but we can argue we certainly haven't sent any strong messages out towards any of our good players. I think we need to do. We shouldn't be holding their hands and pussyfooting around this. If we have to change the culture because some players just will never give their all and always think they just have to do enough to stay in the team, we have to identify that, and we just have to make just a quick cut. Do it swiftly. Stop hanging around for years. Waiting for these players to go off on their own because they're not getting anywhere and not having success. Get rid of them, get what you can for them, and actually bring in players who want to play. The other side of the coin, and people are instantly going to think of players like Gibbs and Murphy when I say those things. I'm not particularly singling them out, but if you're going to keep those players there, don't look at them to be the physical, aggressive type players that all sides need. Get in those players to support the cream, because they're silky players, but they're being asked to lead in maybe a manner that doesn't suit their personalities and their style. They're always going to be those sort of classy, cream of the crop type players who will finish off and with their silky skills and whatnot. But they're not going to be the ones that are going to go in there and fly the flag in a scuffle, or sort of do something in that regard hard that's going to inspire the rest of the team.
Physically intimidate another team.
You've got to get, I know we've had leaders in the past that will actually stand up and fight. Sticks would support. He would get involved in every scuffle. Mike Fitzpatrick was a man amongst men. Obviously back to the days of John Nichols and those sort of players. We've had those aggressive guys in control, but you can have the quality players in control, but you just have to surround them with a couple of aggressive hard nuts in your leadership team.
The guys that we've got in there at the moment just aren't doing that.
Yep.
And look, one thing that really annoyed me after the game was that Murphy was just having like a casual chat with Luke Shuey. I mean, I realise they both played at the Oakley Chargers and have known each other for a long time. However, you would have thought that, looking at him, you would have thought that he just didn't have a care in the world. And
where's the hurt factor?
Exactly. I mean,
we're hurt. They should be hurt.
Exactly. We've just been flogged by 11 goals. He should be. I would have thought he'd shake his hand and get off the ground straight away rather than hanging around for a good old chat and catching up on good old times. That just really, really annoyed me seeing him do that.
Supporters are the lifeblood of the club. It should be more than a job. Even personal pride comes into it and whatnot, but it's not just a pay packet. So I agree with you. I'd just like to see a little bit of passion. All right, guys. Did we want to go around the grounds and discuss any other results, or some of those are a little bit painful for a Carlton supporter as well?
Look, I did watch the Hawthorn-Essendon game yesterday, but yeah, I must admit I really didn't think Hawthorn cough up a 3-goal lead with a few minutes to go. So, makes for an interesting game this weekend against Essendon.
Yeah, it's been a few interesting results, and you're just looking at the ladder with Geelong on the bottom. Who would have thought that after 2 rounds? It is only 2 rounds, but they certainly look fallible. But yeah, the Bulldogs are looking very, very good as well. I thought that they were going to be big improvers this year, but they're already looking like a even better team than perhaps most people gave credit for.
Hard to fathom, isn't it? I mean, losing Griffin and then losing Liberatore out for the season with a knee injury, they were expected to be bottom 4 after that. Incredible.
They also lost Cooney as well, which is another senior member of that team. So
and Higgins and so forth. I understand what you mean, but I mean, those couple of Cooney and Higgins had sort of been labouring a little bit, but it just, for whatever reason, they've just gelled, and maybe it's the coach. I don't know.
I mean, you look down the list of the game against Richmond that they just played and won. I was just looking at the stats there. Organised them by disposals, and you go down their first 5, maybe even 6 players: Bontempelli, Wallace, McRae, Boyd, Murphy, and Dalhouse. That's a lot of good young players with a couple of senior ones around them, all in their midfield, and it's like, well, you know what? They're all standing up. That's what we need our guys to do.
Exactly.
We got to get them in the side.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, we don't have as much depth as that, but I don't see Nick Graham developing in the VFL. He needs to be in the side. Obviously, Patrick Cripps supposedly had a back strain and he'll be back. But we've just got to play those guys. Bulldogs have actually decided we're going to develop our guys, and it's reaping rewards. So there's still a few senior players who probably aren't earning their spot, and I get your point, HBF. There's not a lot of players earning their spot in the VFL either, but some players do respond to the big stage a lot better than the VFL, where they're actually surrounded by I guess, lower standard top-up players, which kind of affects their game as well. ShanDog, you have anything else you want to add before we leave, mate?
No.
You're going to survive. You're going to survive till next week.
I think so. I think I'm going to concentrate on some other things between.
Will an Essendon loss surprise, or would you save up another ShanDog shouts until a St Kilda loss?
Look, I think if the same petulant performance is had this weekend, then I recommend people who listen to the podcast next week should adjust their volume levels when I come on, because there's going to be words said, things will be said that can't be unsaid, and I think you want to be there for that.
Look, we are going to come back later in the week and do a pre-game pep talk for the Essendon game, and you should tune in because it's going to be very interesting how we try to justify how we're going to be in the contest. It should be a few statistical backflips and all sorts of tricks going on. So join us for that. Until then, good night, ShanDog.
Good night.
Good night, HBF.
Good night, gentlemen.
Thanks for joining us, guys, and may our week get better.